What's going on, everybody? My name is John Dunphy. Oh, wait, what am I doing? I'm doing this all out of order. This is how you know we've been away for too long. Today is Monday, Monwan Monday, November
Oh
11th,
no.
2024. That's right, 11/11, make a wish. We're back. We've been away for a little while. We're back, though, to talk about Survivor 47, episodes 7 and 8. I'm excited to get opinions from you guys on everything that's gone on in the last 2 weeks that we're catching up on. So let's get into it. All right, now my name is John Dunphy, and I am joined, as always, by my fellow tribe mates, Miss Gina Morgino and Mr. Mikey Marmon, who has put on some cool sunglasses.
It's bright in here, you know?
I'll take it over the kazoo any day, all right?
Oh, why did you say that? Why did you say that?
Did I hear a request for the kazoo?
All
No,
right,
you
so
certainly didn't.
I think I might have. We'll have to
right.
see.
We're going to move on real quick here. We are Strat Chat, your favorite reality TV podcast. That's right. And you can find us on the socials at Strat Chat Pod. All right. How's everybody doing? It's been a while. I was looking, the last time we did a podcast about Survivor was like October 24th or something like that.
It feels like years ago.
Yeah. So we're catching up. We got a lot of catching up to do, actually. We had an auction. We had people finding advantages. But so, yeah, I guess let's get into it. So first off, one thing I wanted to get your opinion on, both of you guys, because I know we've talked about in past seasons how we have our three tribes, then we get to the merge, but then we get teased with this mergatory, and then usually after that they'll split the tribes up into two, and we don't really like that. We like seeing everybody, but they split the teams up for one of the challenges in these two episodes, and I actually thought that I liked how it worked out better this time.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So the first immunity challenge that we had was immunity and reward. So we got split up into two different teams, right? And we found out that the winning member for the winning team would win immunity for that whole group, right? It was just the one person that won from the losing group, only they were immune, and the other five would be at risk. And for this one, they had to balance that big beam over their heads with the ball and balance it, and whoever lasted the longest would be the winner. Now, this meant that the winning tribe would be going back to their camp, would have a nice little barbecue, a nice little reward. The other six would have to go and figure things out. But the way that the drawing of the rocks played out was that one group had pretty much all Gata and Lavo, and then the other other group was just the 5 Tuku members and Rachel.
Like, in what universe is that how that panned out?
Yeah. But I'm so glad that they're doing this, because I feel like for a while there were no rewards at the like actual advantages. I mean, at the reward little feast that they would have. And in this one, we saw a couple people take a look around, but Soul ultimately was the one that found the scroll, which gave the power to choose something. But he would send this to the losing group's camp, and they would be able to use it however they saw fit. Do you think that Soul made the right move? Right?
Oh,
choosing
absolutely.
Rachel. I think so too. Yeah.
I think so. That's the most, because she was in the most danger, so she had the most to lose from that tribal, of course, and so he bought himself an ally easily.
Yeah.
Especially for someone like Soul, who was like sort of been in kind of like not like a super strong alliance thus far. Like he needed a strong ally, and he was able to find himself one by paying for it, essentially. But yeah, no, I think he made absolutely the right choice.
Yeah. And I'm curious about how this twist, because I liked how this went with the splitting up of the two groups, even though we're post-merge now, because of how Soul's advantage set up such a great tribal, like at the end of this episode. But I'm skeptical still, I think, of the splitting of the two groups, because I feel like we only got this just out of luck with how the drawing of the rocks went. And I'm not sure that if it's Tuku all split up, I feel like this could have been a flop, this whole twist.
Yeah.
I think it does too. Like, it sort of softens the blow that we had a full tribal with everybody there. Everyone was voting. Like, it wasn't, we didn't have to do like a split to get to the merge, and then we get to the merge and we're splitting again. Like, we had that big tribal, and then again, like, moving forward, because we're talking about 2 episodes tonight. The episode after, we had another big tribal. So I think, just if you have just one like this, like towards the beginning of the merge, I think I don't have any problem with that. It's when it's like every single episode that we're split. No one can vote. There's 3 votes, but there's 12 people. Like, I didn't mind it at all. I mean, I think it has the potential to maybe get annoying, but in this instance, at this point, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. I mean, even just the fact that, like, I feel like when we do the weird, like, mergatory split tribe, like, what have you, there is a lot of, like, there's 2 tribals and they're not all at the same one, or like the half that's safe, like, goes back to their camp, and then we're all individual. Like, even just the fact of having everybody there, even if not everybody was eligible to vote tribal, still, like, helps the dynamic too, because, like, people are still, even though we can't vote, they're not a number, they're not really necessarily a part of the plan, quote unquote. They can still watch everything in real time while it's happening, and they're still, like, experiencing the tribal, even though they're not necessarily involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and throwing that advantage in at the reward kind of made them all involved. I mean, like, I'm curious, like, I'm glad that Soul didn't tell anybody. Do you think that this would have been as good too if anybody else knew about this? Like, if people from the reward knew, like, because I could see someone else finding this advantage, and then like, when they see it's not an idol, they're like, oh, how do we want to use this to mess up the other side's tribal? But I'm glad that it was like a secret, honestly.
Much more fun this way.
I agree. I don't think what is about this, though, that would have worked out is that, like, even if everybody on the other tribe knew, there was no way they could have warned or told anybody that was in the actual tribal. So it wouldn't have, like, ruined it per se, but I'm glad it wasn't like a whole group decision situation, and it could be used to further one person's game, as opposed to like, oh, we all did this together, no one can claim that move because
right.
claim this move now, you know?
Yeah. Another question that I did have, this is really just a hypothetical because we know what happened. Soul found the advantage, used it on Rachel. Rachel played the safety without power, so she got to leave and she was safe from tribal. But we did see Tuku kind of debating before ever finding out that Rachel would be safe. We saw them debating, is it smart to stay Tuku strong? Like, if we come out of this and all 5 of us are still here and Rachel is gone, what is that going to mean for us? Are we going to all 5 of us be at the bottom and everyone's coming for us? And there were some thoughts that, like, we saw Gabe and Caroline, talking about Rachel being a major threat, but what's the look going to be if we come back and all 5 of us are together? Tiana was talking to Kyle about getting Gabe out. And so, like, there was definitely some, like, cracks there about, like, we know that Gabe and Tiana have never gotten along, like, throughout this whole season. Do you think if Rachel, like, I guess my question really is just, like, would it have been smarter for Tuku to stay Tuku strong or vote one of their own out in the event that Rachel wasn't saved by this thing?
I don't know, because it seems like regardless of what happened at this tribal, like, they were going to start eating each other anyway, because Gabe and Tiana were against each other from the very beginning. Sue, obviously, being close with Gabe, had an issue with Tiana. Like, I don't think there was a version of events where, like, they didn't try to start gunning for each other regardless. And I think that, like, I don't think they would have lasted much longer after this anyway. So might as well. It probably worked out better for. I mean, like, obviously it didn't work out great for me because Tiana was my #1 draft pick. But it probably was better for them just as a group that it was sort of forced upon them, rather than like, oh, we're gonna stick together, and then, like, you get the blind side. And, like, I think this probably made it cleaner.
Yeah. I also thought it was funny because I'm like, Rachel's just sitting there, didn't do anything to anybody. Like, she was just given this advantage, and, like, going into the vote now, knowing that Tuku was going to have to vote out one of their own. I forget who it was. It might have been like Gabe or something that was like, Rachel now has forced us to cannibalize each other. And it was like, Jeff just told us all how this works. Like, she was literally just handed this advantage. Of course she's going to use it. Like,
literally, who in their right mind was not using it?
Right, like blame the random stranger that threw this into the mix, not Rachel.
Also, like, at the end of the day, I think pretty much everyone but Kyle, who was safe, had their name thrown out at one point or another. Like, they were already talking.
Tribal, yeah.
They were already talking about cannibalizing each other. So it's not like this is like, oh no, what are we gonna do? We love each other so much. Like, they have been. Yeah, no, that was a crazy thing to say.
Yeah. But all right, yeah, it was an exciting tribal council too. Obviously, once Rachel left, I thought it was funny. Tiana just standing there, like sitting there, continuing to give an answer to Jeff as like everyone else in her tribe has started like scrambling, and I'm like, Tiana, get up and get into these conversations.
You're like, girly, what are you doing?
Truly, and what was cool about this one too was like I personally, right up until the votes were read, did not know how it was going to go.
Oh,
it really could have gone either way. I think it came down to Tiana versus Gabe there, but it could have gone either way, I thought, which made it really more interesting and more fun to watch.
Yeah,
even like to that point, I was leaning more towards Gabe. Like,
I thought I was too. I mean, like, either way, I was losing a teammate, so I was trying to pick which one I would rather.
And
lose,
about time you did.
Yeah.
Oh, so obviously, you know, we pretty much talked about everything for this episode. Tiana gets voted out. I think it ended up being like 4-1 the vote. But the one thing that I kind of skipped in the beginning was and this kind of I think leads into the next episode pretty well. But so prior to episode 7, we had seen Rome voted out pretty significantly, but there was a backup name that had been thrown out, and it was Andy's. And Sam and Sierra, both at this reward that they had been on when Andy's name was thrown out, said like, yeah, okay, if Andy has to be the backup, he's the backup. But Soul was the one person that was like called out for voting for Andy. So Andy and Soul had a conversation where Soul told Andy that it was pretty much Sam that was like, yeah, Andy's the backup, which now set up an interesting thing going into this next episode. Because Andy has made it clear to everyone, pretty much other than Sam and Sierra, I think, that he is now like gunning for Gata. So I just think back to that first episode where my boy John Lovett got voted out instead of Andy, and now here Gata decided to keep him over John, and now here Andy is blowing their games up.
Listen, I'm sorry, like, Andy's chaotic, but I love him. Like, I love him.
It's good for you that he's chaotic. It's crazy. It goes to show you, like, when someone shows that weakness at the beginning, when someone shows that they are willing to like be crazy and like do that at the beginning, you gotta take them at their word in this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, assuming if Sam does not win this game at this point, he's gonna look back at that moment and be like, that is the moment that destroyed my game right at the beginning. You know, I don't think it will have been anything after that. I think keeping Andy will have been his downfall.
Yeah. I also like, you know, it's one of those situations too where I feel like I like both Sam and Sierra, and I was very disappointed, obviously, to lose her in this episode. But I really felt like it was a case of Sam and Sierra getting what they deserved. Just throughout this episode in particular, I mean, we have always known that Sam and Sierra saw Andy like pretty much strictly as a number, someone that they were just kind of keeping around, like out of the goodness of their hearts, like, you know, we'll just keep dragging him along a little bit longer. And it's like, it was in that way, it was almost a little satisfying to see them get what they deserve, even though Sierra, one of my team members, ended up getting knocked out because of it.
Sure.
But because this episode really felt like there was a lot of comments from Sam and Sierra about how just like expendable Andy was to them. I feel like I remember especially some Sierra confessionals where I was like, geez, Andy's going to watch this. Like he's
Right,
going
that
to
always
watch
gets
this
me.
later.
Yeah.
And like they would just make so many like little comments like, oh, like, yeah, it doesn't really matter if Andy's around or not. And I'm like, you guys are not gonna be friends after this airs.
I don't know. Something tells me they stopped being friends before it started airing.
Well,
I don't think.
But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you can like just kind of chalk things up to being like in the heat of the season, like we're playing a game. But like afterwards, if I'm watching confessionals and like you just straight up talking about how like unnecessary and useless I am and what a liability I
that's a little
am
personal.
and like you have no interest in actually working with me, you're just keeping me along, dragging me along as a number, I'd be like, fuck you.
And you gotta be careful about who you're dragging along as a number, because apparently the GOAT isn't as much of a GOAT anymore. He's really making his own game, which is kind of interesting to see, because it's like, I mean, it is very similar to what we got with Emily
Sure.
2 seasons ago, where he really is sort of like going from this like chaotic from at the start player to someone who's now like got a shot. If Andy makes it to the end, he's got several moves under his belt at the moment. I mean, he can definitely take credit, I'd say, for that Annika vote. I think that he had a lot to do with that, and we saw him predict exactly what was going to happen in his confessional. I think he can take credit for this one. I think that Andy is really like paving himself a way towards the end, and that's crazy.
And
I feel,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do lean more towards that as well, but there is a small part of me too that's like, how much of his chaos actually is chaos versus like, I just don't want people to think that I know what's going on, so I'm really playing up how all over the place I am. I think he's kind of shot himself in the foot a couple too many times for that to like fully be his strategy, but I also don't think he's necessarily as out of things as he makes himself look like he is. I don't know.
I actually think he's really smart. I think Andy is like very smart, and I think that he is like pretty good with strategy. I think Andy's worst enemy is himself, though. Like the blow up, like everyone's going to remember that, of course, in the beginning of the season. Even in this episode with or was it the last episode? I forget. One of these 2 episodes where he was like very blatantly looking for an advantage in front of everybody. Like Saul was much sneakier about it, and like people noticed. And I think there were some comments about it, like in confessionals, about people noticing Andy doing stuff like that. So I feel like Andy is like the biggest.
He's definitely a little messy.
Yeah, he's the biggest detriment to his own game. I feel like, because like he's smart. Like I think he does know what's going on.
Oh
yeah, I don't know how much is an act, but like if he can keep himself out of his own way, I think he'll be in really good shape.
And he's definitely smart. Mans is bilingual, which is more than I can say about myself. So, yeah, listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on? We got some comments over here. Liz. Sorry, Liz. I'm so out of it. Liz is here with us. Liz says good mon wan to you. A good mon wan to you as well, Liz. Liz is really enjoying the season, she says. For the new era, definitely her favorite. What do you guys think about that? Is this your favorite or one of your favorites?
I probably agree with that. I think this is the most like satisfying to watch so far. I think it really does feel like they've been like listening to the fans and like listening and like not only listening to the fans, but like also just like I'm sure seeing for themselves like, okay, this is working, this isn't working, and we're getting it seems like we're getting a lot more things that are working this season than things that aren't.
Yeah.
Which could be a testament to the cast, it could be a testament to the producing team, it could be a combination of the two, but I'd say I'm very much enjoying this season. I'm very much enjoying watching it. And what's cool about it is like I don't know who's gonna win. I have some ideas, but like it could go any number of ways, and like everything that I've seen online, like everyone has a different opinion.
Yeah,
like there is no clear front runner, which I think is cool.
I think the only thing keeping me from saying that it's my favorite is that I really, really did enjoy 45 a lot. I liked 45 a lot, but this one's definitely up there.
Yeah,
it's really, really solid, and I think for all the reasons that you just said, like they're actually paying attention and like adjusting things accordingly.
Yeah, and for me, I love this cast. I really do. Rome was like, and like he brought his own, his own part to the season, but like Rome, I couldn't stand. Everyone else, like I like in different ways. So
I'm having a much easier time telling apart Rachel and Caroline now too.
Oh, really?
So
Is it because they look literally nothing alike?
you're right. They don't. They don't look anything alike, and I know that. But I can now. They're both now in like doing a lot more, so I'm
Sure.
like much more attuned to who they are, and they're also not completely covered in mud. So
Fair
it's
enough.
true. It's true. So in this episode, to start off, we saw Sol telling Rachel about the fact that it was him that saved her, that sent her the power. So a little connection there that we're seeing. These couple episodes had some nice little interesting like relationships forming. Sol and Rachel. In the last episode, we saw Andy and Genevieve kind of coming together to plot on some things. Because originally, I really thought we were about to get a Gata and Lavo team up on Tuku. And we saw Tuku have to cannibalize each other at the end of episode 7. And then coming in here, it started to look very much like it was actually going to be Lavo and Tuku teaming up on Gata, which is exactly what we got. So very interesting to see where everybody's going now in this this post-merge game. I love it. But of course, the big main event of this episode was the Survivor auction. We had our scramble for cash where everybody would have to go out and look for some money. Sierra pulling in over $1,000. Wish she could have bought immunity with that. That would have been nice. Andy got $0.
Oh,
Andy,
Andy,
rough. That was a rough watch.
It was also like, yeah, you're gonna say what I was gonna say.
There was that one shot where it was like right there on the stump, and like literally, if he had turned his head like 30 degrees, he would have been like looking directly at it.
But it's not even just that. The editors did him so dirty because he was like, I'm really perceptive. Like, I don't miss anything. Like, he was like, while that shot was happening, the confessional was him talking about how, like, I got eagle eyes. I could definitely fight. Like, you're not going to get past me with nothing. And it's like, oh.
Hard to watch. At one point, I was just like, Sierra, just throw the guy a bone and
I'm like, give him like $20 or something.
Damn. Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough one.
Yeah. It made me feel like he wasn't actually like looking at anything. Like was he just like walking around zoned out? Like that's what
I don't know. Poor guy.
There was that one shot too of him over by some kind of like rock wall. Like, oh, I can't find anything. And he just walked right by, and then you just see Genevieve turn around and grab it and like look at the camera. Oh man, poor Andy. But so yeah, we had all of our players show up to the auction with Jeff with varying amounts of money, and of course we would be doing just like last time. We would have kind of a random number of items up for auction, anywhere from 5 to 15. Based on the rock that Jeff pulled out of the bag that he had. I think we ended up with 12, I think.
Yeah. That's right.
What did you think? Did you like the auction? Some of your favorite items, least favorite items, anything?
I like the auction a lot. I like this new version of it. I like that there's stakes to it.
Yeah.
And I think that the cash back like sort of situation that they added this time around helps with like, because obviously when there are like you have the most money, you're going to lose your vote. You are obviously just like more inclined to just like, all right, I'm going to give you $1,000 for a milkshake, like Dee did 2 seasons ago. But having that cash back sort of like fixes that problem a little bit, because like that's what got Sam in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
it kind of it shook it up a little bit to keep it, because I feel like the last time we watched it, it was very obvious like who was going to lose their vote towards the end. So I think you're right.
I also just like I do love the auction. I think it's so fun. I think like the rewards are good, but I still stand by like, if I have been eating coconuts and sand for the last month and you put mac and cheese in front of me, I apologize to everybody on that island. Like literally, like you're going to die. What the milkshakes, like so much dairy. I haven't been eating any food. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean like Kyle breaking his whatever it was 7 years of no meat. Crazy.
I think he said he had become a vegan, and he was a vegan. I think it was like 6 years prior, he told Jeff, and then he changed from a vegan to a vegetarian just so he would have more options in the event he got picked to play Survivor. And now he's eating chicken wings on national TV.
Crazy. But like, again, that is going to shock his system. That man's body is like, what are you giving me right now? You know he was sick that night.
You kind of, I feel like these people, like, you go into it and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to get sick no matter what, so I might as well have a delicious meal.
Yeah.
Dude, that breakfast that Sam got.
That looked mad good.
Oh, baby.
That actually, that might have been my favorite item, to be honest.
Oh, man, that was nice. That was like that. Having seen that, I think I might have been able to get the grubbers down. I think.
Oh, absolutely not.
I think I might have been able to do it. I don't think under normal circumstances, like if there is not a prize that I can see right in front of me, I don't think it's ever happening. But looking at that breakfast, like, close your eyes, plug your nose, get those
not
things
worth
done,
it.
My God, that looks so good.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I wanted to mention. The first thing I'll bring up is so Sierra. I thought was very interesting. Sierra got 2 items. One was like the nachos and a margarita or something that, which looked very good. And then later on, bid and won like a bowl of like peanut butter and chocolate. It looked like. So I thought something was funny here. The picks made sense because Sierra, this was the only item that people were allowed to share. So we've heard a lot about Gabe not having any food rewards, only eating what he's been, given on the island, coconuts, rice, whatever, whatever his tribe had. And then we had Caroline in this, who had to both eat the grubs and lost out on the breakfast, and then later on bid and actually ate like a fisheye. So I understood why Sierra picked Gabe and Caroline, but then I remembered something. And I feel like this would probably make Andy even more annoyed because Andy showed up to this thing with no money, no ability to bid on anything, to win any prizes. And Sierra is supposed to be working with Andy, who's already feeling disposable to her. And now she just ignores him and picks
Gabe. I had
Gabe.
the same thought. I was like, you're not even going to pretend to think about picking Andy.
Right.
Nothing.
He's just been sitting there with no money the whole time watching everyone bid. And I get it. Gabe's hungry. He only got a coconut. Caroline bid on some stuff, didn't really get anything good, but that man is just sitting there not participating.
He's helpless. He can't do anything.
And started this season out by declaring to the entire beach that nobody on his tribe liked him, and now it's like he's sitting there probably just feeling even worse. So Sierra, geez. But also on that note, Caroline, I gotta give big props to Caroline. She's a trooper.
Yeah, she ate that fish eye. My goodness,
right?
I think the grubs are, I can maybe manage. It's the bite. Take a bite out of something like that. Ugh.
But the grub is still moving when you bite it. At least the fisheye is not like wriggling around.
That shit like.
I am having a bad time.
Yeah. Well, did you see though when Caroline did a good job, like at least eating the first grub, but Sue. She'd been into that thing. Did you see all the stuff coming, like the brown? Because you could see, like, that was inside the grub worm. Sure, that was poop, right?
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. I'm not having fun.
Another thought I had about this. Well, not a thought, just another thing I want to talk to you guys about was Rachel. She had a burger and fries, and in those fries was a little scroll. Which again, I'm glad to see advantages being found at rewards and at auctions and stuff. I feel like we get a lot of this on like Australian Survivor, and it hasn't been around in our version of Survivor for at least a long time. So, but at the end of this auction, everyone got some kind of prize except for Andy, and Sam lost his vote. So he had the most money remaining. But okay, so now back at camp, Rachel opened her scroll. This was a tough idol to get, but I don't know how she did this. I don't know how anybody didn't notice that she was standing there with the machete.
Literally, like watching her do it, I was like, no one's looking at her right now. Nobody.
So I was listening to the On Fire podcast, like the official Survivor podcast, and Charlie, who is on it this season, from you know Charlie, right, Gina? You're familiar. Charlie.
Yes.
He was saying that you are at camp for so long, and there is just always something happening. Like there's always people moving around, people going to get firewood. So like basically the way she was able to pull this off was that she just was so nonchalant. She just took this machete, she walked around the shelter, and she cut it out of there. And she did it in a way that like if someone looked in her direction, they might have just like been like, "Oh, she's fixing the tarp or whatever." But like apparently like the activity is just so constant
Yeah.
that as long as you are not like drawing attention to yourself by doing something like crazy, like something like this is possible to pull off in this way. Clearly, it's still like
It was wild to watch.
The way it's presented to us and like watching like people like literally inside of it not notice.
Yeah, and you could see her right there, like
yeah, literally right in front of their faces. Yeah,
it's one of those things too that I feel like you said, Mikey, like the activity is sort of constant. Everyone's their heads are in the game. But I feel like it's so easy to like when you're trying to be sneaky about something, you know, like you just get that, you automatically get that feeling like you're a little more awkward. You're not like as efficient with things. And I could just like, I don't know, like, I feel like that is just another example too of showing Rachel, like, she's got some nerves of steel, because I feel like if I tried to do the same thing, I'd be like, oh, nobody's even going to notice. I'm just going to go over here. But I would do some kind of weird like movement, or I'd say something weird and they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, John?
I mean, we forget this is the same girl that tried to pull one over on Jeff and take some rice.
The rice, I was just gonna say.
Challenge.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah,
pockets full of rice.
That's a great point. But yeah, so Rachel has an idol, and then this was fun. This scramble after the auction, because this is where we started to talk about, you know, for a while it was like Gata and Lavo going against Tuku. And then we see Genevieve actually from Lavo saying, no, I'm more threatened by the Gata 4 than I am the Tuku 4, which like also made me think, because I'm like, I didn't even realize, like, Tuku felt like with their 5 members last episode, like, oh, like everybody's got to knock them off. You're not going to have a chance. And then I turn around and I'm like, I didn't even realize how even these things actually still were. Like, it really does make a lot of, and I feel like it shows how smart Genevieve is to be like, no. Everybody in Gata and Lavo is talking about taking out Tuku. That's not smart for us to leave all these Gata people in here. So I thought that was awesome from Genevieve. I think she's a very smart player. But yeah, so we had also, I feel like we saw Teeny, Sierra, and Rachel throwing the Tuku players' names out. They were pretty set. But of course, we got to the immunity challenge, and Kyle won his 3rd straight immunity necklace.
We literally went from seeing nothing from Kyle to now he is like this huge contender in this game. I'm like, what's going on? Where did you come from?
Yes, but the second that man does not win immunity, he's gone. He's gone, and there's no way he can't. There's no way to. He's not going to win all of them. So I think,
right?
I don't see a world in which that he's able to pull this off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree, because he's giving me what was his name? Hunter? Was that his name?
Yeah.
You know, like just winning everything, and like he got pretty far. He did pretty well based on the wins, but like of course everyone's looking at you like, we're getting you out of here as soon as we possibly can. Like, which kind of sucks, because I actually really like Kyle. So.
Yeah.
But Kyle was not the only winner. This was we had men's and women's winners. So Kyle took the win for the men. Sue took the win for the women.
Did she move a literal inch the entire competition? Like, how did she do that?
Her face certainly didn't.
Oh my god. But good for Sue.
That's crazy.
She's very strong. What is she actually? She's telling people she's 45, right?
It's in her
she's
60s.
She's actually.
I don't remember.
I thought it was 58 for some reason.
I
feel like it's 60s. I feel like it was like enough, like a high enough number that I was like 45 is what we're going with.
Yeah.
It also, this challenge though. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I've said it before, but for the record, this woman does not look 45.
No, not even close.
No.
Not even close. But yeah. So basically, though, after this immunity challenge, we knew that Kyle and Sue would be safe, and now everyone was just getting on the same page about which GOTA member to vote out. I felt like Sierra and Sam's names were out there the most, but there were people like Caroline and Genevieve that were saying they actually wanted Rachel out the most. I was hoping at some point, I feel like there was a point where like there was a reward challenge where the tribes got to mingle, and I thought that Rachel and Caroline were talking and they might end up working together, and now Caroline has just like zoned in on Rachel and seen how like dangerous she is, and I honestly absolutely hate it. Because they're both on my team.
They're your girlies.
Just leave each other alone. This is supposed to be Johnny's Angels, you know. So yeah, but this was a fun scramble, I thought, to me, watching everybody give all their reasons for why they thought Sierra, Sam, or Rachel should go. I loved the fact that like they're all targeting GOTA. There's the 3 targets are GOTA, but like they're all spread out. Like there was no like one name that everyone had in mind or 2 names that were. It just felt like this could have gone so many different ways, and especially with Rachel, everyone wanting to vote her out at the last tribal, and Soul saving her. Like this was a good tribal, I thought, or scramble that led into the tribal.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what did you guys think about this tribal council? It was
stressful because I thought I might lose another teammate 2 in a row, which would have been tough blow for me. But no, it was really cool. I mean, like, I feel like it's been a while since we've gotten like a split vote quite like this. Yeah. I mean, it was also the first time they ever did a split vote where someone was able to someone who was up to be voted out could vote in it because of the way it worked out with
that was weird.
Lost votes and all that. I also like the way Rachel played the shot in the dark was really interesting, and like using it as sort of like a testing ground to see if she needed to play the idol was very, very, very smart.
I love it.
You kind of play that shot in the dark and gauge the reaction from the rest of the tribe, and if it's like feeling like you're okay, well, I need to use this idol, you got it in your pocket, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
that was great.
Can you do both of those things in one tribal? Like if you lose your shot in the dark, you can still play an idol?
Yes. That's what's confirmed by Jeff.
And I did love too. They did a good job, I thought, of showing after Rachel played the shot in the dark, showing her looking at the other tribe mates, and like because you could tell that she was looking at each person's reaction. Like you could really tell, like her eyes, moving around from person to person to see like what their reaction was to her pulling out a scroll, before the votes or whatever. So, yeah. Yep. Because I know that Caroline definitely noticed her reach into the bag. I don't know if anybody else saw her, but Caroline definitely saw her reach into her bag and reach into her pocket then. So, but yeah, we had an interesting vote. Came out the first time, 4-4-1. Of course, so I should say Rachel played her shot in the dark, was not safe. So also didn't have a vote then. But first vote came out tied, 4 votes for Sierra, 4 votes for Sam, and 1 vote for Gabe. And then after that, we went to a second vote, and Sierra went home. I think Sam only got 1 vote after the first vote.
From Sierra.
Yeah.
From Sierra, right? And then there went Sierra. Another one of my team members gone.
Sorry, John. Better you than me, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know if I agree with that exactly. But, so the next on, though, looks pretty interesting. Sam, of course, ready to cause chaos. His game's been blown up. We saw a lot of names getting thrown out. We saw Gabe's names thrown out, Soul, Kyle, Sue, all names that were mentioned in the next on for potential targets. And then it looks like potentially Sam confronting Andy. It looked like they were kind of in the, off together, like kind of maybe gathering firewood or something like that. And it looked like they panned to Sam, and he said something to Andy along the lines of like, "I think you blow up everybody's game," or whatever. So maybe we'll get a little blowout between them. Who knows? But all right. So where do we stand? I didn't get the numbers in here, Mikey. So
I know I did it really late. I got them here. I can hold them up if you want.
Yeah. Well, let's talk.
It was like 7:59. He was like,
I know. Talk us through it. So we're looking at this week's team totals. We have the absent Mr. Kyle Petty is coming in this week at a 36,
Oh, you see, he
followed
gets there. You
by
go. Good for Kyle because he was after last week. He was saying like, "Oh, my team, like we're struggling." So I'm glad
yeah.
he got a win this week. That's good.
Yeah. Well, he got because both Kyle and Sue are on his team, and they both
And they
scored high
both,
this week because
yeah,
they
yeah,
both won individual immunities.
yeah. Nice.
So that was good for him. And then Team Morgino and Team Marmon, they're tied for second with a
Oh, a tie. Wow.
26.5 apiece.
And then
And Team
I suck.
Dumpy struggling down there at the bottom, another 16.5
Oof.
between. I
Wow.
believe that's between two castaways too, which is crazy. We're
Damn.
looking at scores of the week. Kyle is our top scorer at 18.5, followed by Sue. Rachel up there, Caroline, Gabe, Genevieve, and then of course
Oh,
Sierra,
Sierra,
-8.
-8.
So
Oh.
here's what happens with Sierra. So I count every vote that you get at tribal council against you is a negative point if you're voted out, or a negative
Ooh.
0.5 if you're not voted out.
So she got votes
So
in 2 votes this time.
exactly. I
Okay.
went back and forth, but I tried to remember what I'd done in the past, and I counted every vote that was cast against
All
them at
right.
trial.
Hey.
So that's what happened there. If we're looking at season totals, how do I do this without looking like an idiot? There
Yeah.
we
See,
go.
this is rough. I haven't had a single win this season.
Yeah. Me and Kyle still tied for 3. Gina's creeping up behind us. She got her second win.
It's all right.
She's
All
got
my
that
wins are
2.
coming up next. They're
But
up.
we're still looking good for Team Marmon on that total score situation.
Of how we're like.
I know. I listen. And then, of course, if we're looking at scores for the season for our castaways, Kyle has skyrocketed all the
Wow.
way up to 99.5 due to all those immunity wins, followed by Andy, Gabe, and Sam all right there behind him. You got Teeny up there, Sue, Caroline, Rachel, Genevieve, and Soul bringing up the rear. And then, of course, all our.
All right.
But yeah,
Caroline and Rachel. They gotta save it for me.
I don't know. So last time we did this, Kenzie was a top scorer for a lot of the season. So I do wonder if my point system is any sort of indication if it's going to be someone who's been in that top 3, top 4 slot for most of the time.
And that would
which
be Kyle, Andy, or
Andy, Gabe, and Sam have been up there the most.
Mm.
So if I were picking a winner, I personally would be picking one of those 3. But it could go anyway. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. I hope Caroline and Rachel. I'm nervous though because Rachel seems to be on a bunch of people's radar. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, I'm glad
Rachel,
she found that idol, which is good. But
I do feel like Caroline is going to start jumping up on people's radars too. I don't know. She just seems to be someone who's playing, and I think people are going to start to pick up on that. Yeah. I also, what's interesting is like, I don't think like I could see any one of these people working with any one of these people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the alliances are so set in stone that things are going to be impossible. So I think I do think there's a world in which like things get really shaken up because of that. Like someone like just happens to rally the right votes at the right time. Yeah, I don't know. That maybe I'm missing something, but it like really doesn't feel like these alliances are super set in stone.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. Very interesting. It will be very fun to see what happens going forward. We got to get another episode in a couple of nights, so we'll have to see what happens. All right.
Have to.
It's going to be Caroline or Rachel taking the win home. I know it. All right. Well, I think that's it. You guys have any other? Oh, Gina, I think you're muted.
I was muted. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, what if my first ever win is with Andy, who I technically did not even draft? Does that count?
It counts. Listen, it counts. John didn't want him.
Oh yeah, and I still stand by it. I'd rather I'd rather take the loss than win with it.
It's just like my first win would be with a person that I technically did not actually draft. You know,
He was just your 5th pick. It's fine.
yeah.
Last pick. Just like in the did you guys wait, did you watch the there was a deleted scene for when they did that schoolyard pick a couple weeks
I saw
ago.
there was one, but I didn't watch
There
it.
was a deleted scene. Poor Andy.
Last pick.
Was last pick, and like the whole scene was about how he was always the last pick in school too, and how it was like bringing up trauma feelings for him. It's really this is a tough watch.
Poor Andy.
Maybe Andy really is going to win this. Honestly,
I can see it.
It's not impossible for
I
sure.
can see it.
Yeah,
they do spend quite a bit of time with him.
Yeah.
So
I feel like he's either gonna be at least in the final 3, or we're gonna lose him in a very devastating way.
yeah, very possible.
Oh, Andy.
There's lots of possibilities.
That's true. That is true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I guess that's it, right? We will be back this Thursday to talk more Challenge 40. Challenge 40. I almost said
47.
I almost said
God.
Challenge 47. Yeah, I'm getting my seasons mixed up, my shows mixed up. Yeah, we'll be back. I'm assuming 8 p.m. right on Thursday to talk
Probably.
Challenge 40, Battle of the Eras, and our buddy Kyle will hopefully be back with us then. He was busy tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, so find us on the socials at Strat Chat Pod. I actually have a couple of days off this week, so I'm going to try to get like everything up to date. I want to start making those Twitter schedules I used to make. There's graphics that are out of date that I have to update. I'm hoping to get them done.
I believe in you.
Yeah, I got to work the Ranger game tomorrow, and then I'm off Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm thinking I'll have some time to get things up to date. So yeah, everybody out there that's watching, listening, follow us at Strat Chat Pod. We got stuff coming up. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and we'll see you soon. All right.